My name is Gustavo Olvera, and I'm the principal at Witch Hazel Elementary in Hillsboro, Oregon.
Okay.
When it comes to allocating resources at Witch Hazel Elementary, it is really looking at the whole child. We serve about 580 students, but we know that every single child needs a different type of support. So our leadership team really has conversations about equal not being equitable for every student. We really have to take into account what are the resources that the student needs outside of the school when it comes to parent involvement, but also what are the resources, what are the supports that the student needs while he or she is in school. What it looks like at Witch Hazel Elementary is really meeting where students are at. We serve every student who walks in through our door, and we know that every student, whether below grade level, at grade level, or above grade level, they all have different needs. So it is very important as a leadership team at my school to sit down, wrap around our services, and really meet where that one child is, that one individual, whether that be their receiving more one-on-one support from a staff member, maybe it's counseling, maybe it's regards to academics and math, maybe it's social emotional needs, and how do we support that? I think that when we talk about allocating resources and the charge that I have as being an instructional leader, it is an important piece of my job to have those conversations with the leadership team, with my community members, with people that support the school outside, so that the students see that there is a connection, that there's a thread that stems from within the school that goes out into the community and that really weaves around them, because it is really about the community, that the resources don't just live in the school 100% of the times, that by allocating and knowing what other resources are out there, we can really partner not only across the grades, across the schools, across the community, but really wrap around our services around a student to make them feel and be successful both emotionally and academically.
My name is Zafreen Jaffrey, and I work as an advisor for research and evaluation at Education Northwest. Collaborating with families and communities in an equitable way means that schools and districts engage with families in an authentic, meaningful, and respectful manner, and they engage with all families. By all families, we mean families that represent diverse ethnic, racial, socioeconomic backgrounds. For example, I work with a school district that has hired cultural brokers. Cultural brokers are school staff that represent the ethnic minority communities that the schools serve. They're the ones who are making the phone calls when they invite parents to come to a school night. They're the ones who are acting as interpreters. They're the ones who are bridging the communication gaps between schools and diverse ethnic communities. It is important for parents to feel comfortable when they come to school. It is important for parents to have an understanding that the school understands and values the diverse backgrounds that they come from. And when they see somebody that is from their own community, who speaks their language, who's represented on the school staff, who is engaging with them in a meaningful way and explaining the complex bureaucratic system in which schools operate here in the United States, that makes them feel comfortable and welcomed.
I'm Shelley Reggiani. I'm the Executive Director of Equity and Instructional Services for the North Clackamas School District. North Clackamas is the 5th largest school district in Oregon, and we are located just southeast of the Portland metro area. We have more than 33 schools, some traditional neighborhood schools, some charter programs and magnet programs as well. North Clackamas has about 30% diverse student populations, whether it's racial, ethnic diversity, and linguistic diversity. We have more than 70 languages spoken within our school district. Supervising for equitable instructional practices is a priority in our school district, and it's really important that each of our instructional administrators has professional development and ongoing support so they in turn can support our teachers in the classroom with those equitable instructional practices that are high leverage, that focus on the cultural responsiveness and the identity of each student in the classroom. In North Clackamas, supervising for instructional equity looks like a two-way conversation between teachers, and supervising administrators. It's a relationship and it's a comfort level where the supervisor can go into the classroom, coach, give ongoing feedback, just-in-time feedback to be able to improve the instructional practices that are happening in the classroom. When equity shows up in the classroom, that's when students have immediate success.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sente Richards. I'm the Director of Equity and Compliance at Reynolds School District in Rockwood, Oregon. Well, Reynolds School District is a very unique school district in the state. We have a very large population of Latino families that live within our school district. We serve 5 municipalities around and inside of Portland. We also have a lot of refugees that speak languages from Mai, Somali, Karen, Chuukese, and about 85 other languages, about 9 to 10% Black on African American and Native Americans as well. So it's a very diverse mixture of students in the state. One of the things that we are focusing on this year with our administrative staff is dealing with anti-racism from a developmental approach. And so we have about an hour every month where all of the managers in the district, including administrators and the superintendent herself, get together and perform some exercises about identity, racial ethnicity, and what is the importance of those factors in the work that they do in the district. Lots of reflection, lots of engagement, lots of self-engagement as well as engagement with other administrators and managers in a very safe environment so they can then take those tools back into their school settings or in their departments and work with their faculty members or their other classified staff so that they can be the best that they can be when dealing with our students and family members. The LEAD tool is very useful in our district for its evaluative power. One of the things that we like to do with the LEAD tool is evaluate our initiatives based off of the guidance and the vision of the state of Oregon. It's very particular in helping us to figure out exactly to what degree are we being equitable, for example, in our human resource practices or with families and parents, or whether or not a student is being represented in the literature on the classroom materials. So we've decided that it's indispensable, quite frankly, to use that in our committee work so that every initiative in all departments receive a very close examination through the lens of equity. And it's worked very well so far, and we're thrilled that we have that tool, and we're looking forward to utilizing it more in the future.
Okay. I'm Sho Shigioka. I serve as the Administrator for Equity and Inclusion in the Beaverton School District. So Beaverton is one of the largest school districts in the state of Oregon. We have close to 40,000 students, and we are finally minority majority, I'm going to put in quote, school district, meaning that students of color makes up the majority, 51% of our student population, which is a huge shift even from say 10, 15 years ago. Beaverton used to be a very predominantly white, affluent school district, and we have about close to 40% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch. So our student population is definitely shifting, and we're a lot more diverse in terms of race, language, religion, all of that. So for school leaders to be able to foster an equitable school culture means that we as leaders have the capacity, the intellectual capacity, the emotional capacity, and just this more of an interpersonal capacity to be able to really intentionally make sure that schools are being really inclusive, affirming, and empowering of all students. And all students, meaning, and explicitly naming the difference in terms of race, sexual orientation, gender, disability, language, class, because we as leaders, we need to be able to really understand that dynamics that come with power and privilege and how they really play out in our school culture. So as leaders, we must have the knowledge and skills to be able to really navigate the issues around power and privilege, and again, make intentional decisions so that those who have historically felt not welcomed or not part of, not feeling really belonging to the school community, feel again empowered as well as everybody else in the school community. For me, a school is being truly inclusive when principals, assistant principals, and most importantly, classroom teachers are really head-on addressing issues around power and privilege. That's really relevant to what's really happening in current climate. So like, for example, what just happened in Kentucky, really talking about religion and equality, freedom of speech. That's a real issue, right? And do teachers have the capacity to be able to really facilitate a dialogue where students can really talk about those social issues related to race and sexual orientation, but in ways that highly engage students, directly tied to what they're learning in their content. And with that comes our responsibility as leaders to be able to really support teachers to be able to, again, have that kind of a dialogue in the classroom. So again, that's to me is an intellectual sign of a school being really inclusive. So having lead tools, again, that are directly aligned to standards that we use in the state of Oregon around, do you have a clear vision? Are you serving as instructional leaders? Do you have an inclusive school climate? How do you engage with the parents and communities? Those are all important leadership practices that we need to be thinking about. But what makes Lead Tool different is that it layers those standards with the lens of equity, right? So it explicitly asks questions related to, again, students who have been historically marginalized and underrepresented.
My name is Vicki Nishioka, and I work at Education Northwest, and I have the honor of working with districts and organizations in the state that are really focused on reducing discipline disparities and making schools a welcoming environment and place for each and every student.
And I'm Rob Larson. I'm the director of the Oregon Leadership Network, which is now in its 16th year. And the Oregon Leadership Network is a network of schools and districts and organizations and higher education institutions and state agencies that really are committed to improving educational outcomes for students. It's a leadership development network that focuses on educational equity and eliminating disparities in our education system. Constructing and enacting an equity vision is a process that school communities go through in creating possibilities for improving student achievement across all student subgroups. It's really important that enacting an equity vision and creating an equity vision involves all community members and not just a select few in a school community.
An equity vision, what it looks like in being enacted in a school district, is that every person that works there, including principals, to teachers, to classified staff, to bus drivers, understands that equity is a focus and a high priority in their work. And so it means that they are talking about what are ways to support students from different cultural backgrounds, how do we have conversations about this, and how do we invite community members and families to share with us what is working, what is not working, and how we can make our schools more welcoming to each and every student.
And that's a really good point, Vicki, because one of the things that's powerful about thinking about it, enacting an equity vision in the context of equity is that you're actually reaching out to people with whom you haven't really engaged in the past in creating an equity vision. So that's a really important element of that, is that we can create an equity vision with people who are committed in the community for kids improving. So one way of thinking about enacting an equity vision is that we actually have data that shows us that we're making improvements along the way, and that we are clearly eliminating disparities across student subgroups, and that we're clearly eliminating the predictability of results and student outcomes that are based on student subgroups.
I also think that enacting a equity vision means that there are intentional efforts and there are practices in the school and opportunities for the teachers and administrators and communities to talk to each other about this very important issue in a safe way, in a way that really moves thinking to practice, so that we not only are you just talking about it, but you're doing something about it and you're inviting everybody to be part of that solution.
My name is John Lenson, and I'm a consultant. I work primarily with schools and school districts on issues of equity and restorative justice and disproportionate discipline. And I am a member of the Oregon Leadership Network and part of one of the research alliances with the Oregon Leadership Network. For me, modeling ethical and equitable behavior starts with walking the talk. It's showing up, it's persevering, it's being consistent, it's following through, and it's honoring commitments across difference and being trustworthy. So in modeling ethical and equitable behavior, it really is about being accountable. It is about saying these outcomes are going to change, these historical outcomes where students of color, students in poverty, English language learners have not fully benefited. And so it's being transparent, it's being collaborative. It's about saying we are going to make this change. We're going to be accountable for it. We're going to be transparent. We're going to do it collaboratively, and we're going to learn, and we're going to adjust, but we're going to get there. We're going to be persistent. So I use the LEAD tool all the time, both personally in terms of assessing where I am and where I need to get to. How I want to move into being proficient and exemplary. For example, in engaging families and communities. What does that really look like? So it gives me a target, it gives me a goal. And for schools to kind of look at where they are, assess where we are and where we need to get to, it's a tremendously valuable tool.
Hi, my name is David Stevens, and I'm a research manager in the Center for Research and Evaluation at Education Northwest. So influencing the social political context for equity means paying attention to the needs and concerns of the stakeholders in your community. You want to know what students, parents, other administrators and staff think are important, what they want to accomplish, and also understanding how they see some of the challenges and concerns moving forward. And ideally in your work, you want to create some consensus around the vision for the work, what are your ultimate goals, what success would look like, so that you have real community buy-in around your equity work and actually how you're going to accomplish some of your goals. So paying attention to the social political context and practice can involve a couple of things. One, just some very simple things. Being transparent about the process, right? Who's responsible for what? What are they doing? What's the timeline for the work? Just really keeping people at a really basic level informed about what's actually taking place. And also I think it involves thinking about how you can involve people in the work in real and meaningful ways, right? Who needs to be informed about what's taking place? Who needs to be at the table when decisions are being made? Who needs to be consulted as you're thinking about decisions and challenges along the way? So it's really just kind of being intentional about bringing people into the process and letting them know what some of the kind of successes and challenges are that you encounter as you kind of continue in the work.
Yes, my name is Saida Hagigi. I'm Director for the Office of Equity and Human Resources for the Hillsborough School District. Hillsborough School District is the 4th largest school district in the state of Oregon. And we have approximately 20,000 students and a little over 2,200 staff members. The student population has grown rapidly over the last 10 years, and we have quite a diverse student population. It's considered a minority-majority school district because over 50% of the students are students that are considered other than white in our district. We also have a large growing population of bilingual students, native speakers of other languages, as well as emerging bilingual students. An equity mindset when hiring and placing personnel looks like looking at all of the tools and strategies that go into hiring a workforce. Everything from posting the job to a selection committee at the day of hiring to placing them in their position and then supporting them afterwards to be successful to meet the needs of all students. What it looks like is if our intention as a school district or as a state is to hire the most highly qualified multilingual, multicultural, diverse workforce, we need to change our practices. If the outcome that we want is different than what we currently have, we have to look at how we are selecting our staff members, what questions we're asking at the time of hiring, who's sitting around the table and whose perspectives are around the table when selecting a candidate, and then what sort of supports are in place to make sure that individual is successful. How are we showing them how to work with a diverse population? What strategies are we teaching them to be successful as far as culturally responsive pedagogy? What strategies are we teaching them to diversify, to differentiate their classroom instruction? And how do we engage even more so with our families outside of the school? So what supports all around are we providing not only staff members but our students to be successful?
I'm Yvonne Curtis, Superintendent for Forest Grove School District. And I've been here, this is starting my 7th year as superintendent. Okay. Forest Grove School District is in a rural community. We serve Forest Grove Community, Cornelius, Dilley, and Gales Creek. We have 9 schools. We have a large comprehensive high school of about 2,000 students, about 6,000 students overall across the district. We have about our economic challenges, we have about 59% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch. We have about 25% of our students are ELL students, but 99% of the students' home language is Spanish. So we have a really unique opportunity in our school district to really focus in on two languages. We very much value bilingual, bicultural students and developing all of those assets in our students. And we have dual language programs starting from kindergarten, and we're building those up through 12th grade. Developing organizational leadership for equity for me as the superintendent means what I have to do is create a critical mass of equity advocates. By myself, I can't make enough difference. And it's the teachers and instructional assistants and principals who are working with both staff and students in the building and working with our families need to know what they can do. And the way we're looking at equity work, there's many definitions about equity, but what we've landed on that's helpful, it seems to be something that resonates with everyone, is that inherently in our system we have systems of advantage and disadvantage. And we want to do what we can to eliminate advantage and disadvantage, because we've come to understand that if some people are advantaged, others are disadvantaged. We've also determined that we don't want to create new systems of advantage and disadvantage as we implement new strategies.